This is how to become more articulate. Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, I wish I said that better? Have you ever struggled to find the right words, even when your mind was full of thoughts and ideas? You're not alone. In a world where communication is everything from job interviews to relationships, to making an impact on social media, being able to speak clearly, confidently, and persuasively is a powerful asset. Articulation isn't about using big words or sounding overly intellectual. It's about expressing your ideas in a way that others instantly understand and connect with. It's about speaking with intention, clarity, and calm confidence. And the good news, articulation is not a gift you're born with, it's a skill you can build. In this speech, we'll break down the practical steps, mindset shifts, and daily habits that will help you speak not just better but powerfully. Whether you're someone who wants to influence more, lead more, or simply express yourself without hesitation, this is your blueprint. This is how to become more articulate, and this could change the way the world hears you. Clarity is power. Think before you speak. In a noisy world where everyone is speaking, tweeting, and posting, it's not the loudest voice that wins, it's the clearest. Clarity is power. And if you want to become more articulate, if you want your words to carry weight and make impact, it all starts with one essential habit. Think before you speak. Let's be honest, we've all been there. You're in a conversation, a meeting, or even just explaining an idea, and suddenly your words start stumbling over each other. You know what you want to say, sort of, but it's coming out messy, scattered, and hard to follow. The truth is, speaking clearly isn't just about how you speak. It's about how you think. Clear thinking leads to clear speaking. Imagine your mind as a crowded room. If your thoughts are all over the place, bumping into each other, filled with distractions and half-formed ideas, then your words will come out exactly like that, jumbled, confusing, and forgettable. But when your mind is organized, focused, and calm, your speech mirrors that. Clarity begins in the mind. Before opening your mouth, pause for a second and ask yourself, what am I trying to say? What's the main point I want to get across? How can I say it in the simplest way possible? When you slow down and think before you speak, you give yourself the gift of precision. You cut the fluff. You avoid rambling. You say less but mean more. Why most people speak without clarity? Most people don't think before they speak because we live in a reaction-driven world. We're conditioned to respond instantly to texts, to conversations, to questions. But instant reactions often lack depth. When you speak too fast, you may sound unprepared or unsure even if you're intelligent. Here's the truth, you don't need to answer right away. Silence, when used wisely, is not awkward, it's powerful. Pausing for a moment before you speak gives your brain time to process and your words time to form with impact. The most articulate people are not the fastest talkers, they're the most deliberate. Mental clarity comes from daily discipline. If you want to think clearly, you need to train your mind like a muscle. Clarity of speech begins with clarity of thought, and that comes from building certain habits. Read regularly, it sharpens your language and your logic. Journal your thoughts, it helps you untangle your mental clutter. Practice explaining complex ideas simply. If you can teach it, you understand it. Limit distractions because a mind constantly flooded with noise cannot focus long enough to speak with intention. Take care of your mind and your words will take care of themselves. Structure what you say. One powerful tool of clear communication is structure. When you speak, aim to follow a pattern. For example, state your main point, back it up with an example, summarize or restate it. This simple structure helps your listener follow along and it helps you stay focused. Let's say you're in a meeting and someone asks, what's your opinion on this strategy? Instead of rambling, pause, think, then say, my main concern is the timing. For example, we've launched similar projects too quickly in the past, and that hurt execution. I believe a slower rollout will increase success. That's clarity, that's confidence. Simplify to amplify. The biggest mistake people make when trying to sound articulate is using complex words or over-explaining. But true clarity isn't about sounding smart, it's about being understood. Use simple, powerful language. Say what you mean, don't dress it up in fluff. Albert Einstein once said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. That's not just true in science, it's true in life. Whether you're speaking to one person or 1,000, the clearer your words, the stronger your message. Speak with purpose every time you speak. You're either building trust or breaking it. You're either creating connection or confusion. So slow down, think first, and speak with purpose. Clarity is power not just because it makes you sound better, but because it helps others truly hear you, and when people understand you, they trust you, they follow you, they believe in what you say not because you said it loudly, but because you said it clearly. Slow down to sound smarter in today's fast-paced world. Speed is often mistaken for intelligence. People talk fast, reply instantly, and rush through conversations like there's a prize for finishing first. But if you truly want to sound smarter, more confident, and more articulate, the secret is simple: slow down. It may seem counterintuitive, but speaking slower isn't a weakness. It's a strength. It's a sign of control, composure, and confidence. It gives your words weight. It makes people lean in and listen. When you slow down, you don't just sound smarter, you become more impactful. Why we rush when we speak. Let's first understand why people talk too fast. Often it's driven by nerves. When we feel anxious, we speed up to get it over with. We fear silence, so we fill every second with words. Or we think that speaking faster makes us sound more intelligent or prepared, but the opposite is often true. Rapid speech can lead to mumbled words, missed ideas, incoherent messages, and listeners tuning out. It creates the illusion of chaos, not clarity. The power of the pause. Great speakers, from presidents to poets, understand one thing: silence is not your enemy, it's your ally. A well-placed pause can be more powerful than a paragraph. It allows your listener to digest what you've said. It gives your message room to breathe. When you speak slowly and pause purposefully, three things happen. You gain control of the room and your thoughts. Your message becomes clearer and more impactful. You project confidence even if you're nervous. Think about the most powerful speeches in history. They weren't rushed. They weren't filled with filler words. They were measured, deliberate, and intentional. Every word had a rhythm. Every pause had a purpose. Slow speech builds connection. Have you ever had someone speak to you so quickly that you felt overwhelmed or left behind? When someone talks too fast, they unintentionally disconnect from their audience. People need time to process your words. Slowing down helps you. Emphasize important points. Engage emotionally with your listener. Show that you care about being understood, not just heard. In personal conversations, slowing down can make you more empathetic. In professional settings, it can make you more persuasive. People don't just hear your words, they feel your presence. Think while you speak. One major advantage of slowing down is that it gives you time to think as you speak. Fast talkers often trip over their words or go off on tangents, but when you take your time, you can choose better words, avoid repeating yourself, stay on track with your message. This is especially helpful in high-pressure situations like interviews, presentations, or conflict resolution. When you speak slowly, you come across as composed, thoughtful, and intentional, even if you're feeling anxious on the inside. Practical ways to slow down. Slowing down takes practice. Here are a few tips to train this skill. Breathe deeply before you speak. A deep breath calms your nerves and centers your thoughts. It's a reset button that gives you a strong start. Use the power of the pause before making a key point. Pause for a second. After a key point, pause again. Silence builds suspense and lets your message land. Record yourself speaking. Play it back. Are you rushing? Are your words clear? Self-awareness is the first step to improvement. Read aloud slowly. Practice reading books or articles aloud with clarity and intention. This strengthens your articulation and pacing. Watch great speakers, study TED Talks or speeches from people you admire. Notice how they pause. Notice how they pace their words. Learn from the rhythm. Confidence isn't loud, it's controlled. Fast talkers often think they sound confident, but confidence isn't measured in volume or speed. It's measured in control. When you slow down, you show that you're not afraid to be heard. You trust your voice. You're comfortable with silence. And most importantly, you believe in what you're saying. Make your words count. Words are like arrows. If you rush them, they miss the mark. But if you aim carefully and release them slowly, they hit with power and precision. So the next time you speak, whether it's a conversation, a pitch, or a public speech, remember this: don't race to the end. Walk with purpose. Let every word matter. Because when you slow down, you don't just sound smarter, you become a speaker people respect, remember, and respond to. Build a better vocabulary without sounding fake. When we think about becoming more articulate, one of the first things that comes to mind is vocabulary. We imagine that if we just knew fancier words, we'd sound more intelligent, more persuasive, and more respected. But here's the truth. Using big words doesn't make you a great speaker. Using the right words does. You don't need to sound like a dictionary to sound smart. In fact, when people try too hard to use advanced vocabulary, it often comes off as unnatural, forced, or even pretentious. That's not what real communication is about. If you want to build a better vocabulary without sounding fake, it's not about using impressive words, it's about using authentic, accurate, and effective words that fit your message and your voice. Why vocabulary matters, but only if it's real. Your vocabulary is the toolbox of your expression. The more tools you have, the more precisely you can build your message. A strong vocabulary helps you explain things clearly, express emotion more accurately, and connect with different kinds of people. But if your words don't sound like you, they'll distract from your message. People won't remember what you said, they'll just remember that it sounded off. That's the danger of sounding fake. Your message gets lost. So how do you improve your vocabulary in a way that feels real and natural? Learn words through context, not just definitions. Reading is the most powerful way to grow your vocabulary, not because it gives you definitions, but because it gives you context. When you see how words are used in real conversations, articles, stories, and speeches, you learn how to use them naturally. You don't just learn what the word means, you learn when and how to use it. For example, you might come across a word like eloquent. You could memorize that it means fluent or persuasive in speaking or writing, but if you read it in a sentence like, "Her speech was eloquent, simple, powerful, and straight from the heart," you begin to understand the feeling behind the word. That's what makes the word stick, and more importantly, that's what helps you use it naturally in your own conversations. Use words you understand deeply. Never use a word just because it sounds impressive. Use it because it fits. If you aren't 100% sure how to use a word in the right situation, it's better to leave it out than to use it awkwardly. If you want to sound articulate, you don't need complicated words. You need clear, accurate, and familiar ones that match your message. Real fluency is about choosing the best word, not the biggest word. Think about how some of the world's greatest leaders and communicators like Martin Luther King Jr., Steve Jobs, or Maya Angelou spoke. Their words were powerful but rarely complicated. Their strength was in their clarity, not in complexity. Practice speaking the new words you learn. Reading and writing new words is helpful, but speaking them out loud is what makes them stick. If you learn a new word, try using it in a real conversation within 24 hours. This builds muscle memory and makes your vocabulary more natural. Let's say you've learned the word resilient. Instead of just thinking, "Okay, I know this word now," try saying something like, "She's really resilient after everything she's been through. She still shows up with a smile." It doesn't sound forced. It sounds real because it is. Speak how you write and write how you speak. One great way to build an authentic vocabulary is to make your writing and speaking more similar. Often, people write in a way that feels formal and robotic, then speak in a way that feels casual and sloppy. The goal is to meet in the middle. When you write, don't try to sound like someone you're not. When you speak, don't dumb yourself down. Use words you'd be comfortable saying out loud. This balance helps you develop a voice that's intelligent but relatable, sophisticated but natural. Drop the ego, focus on connection. The purpose of vocabulary isn't to make you look smart. It's to help you connect. Big words used for show only create distance between you and your listener. But the right words spoken from the heart build bridges. If you focus on being understood, on expressing your ideas clearly, and on speaking truthfully, the vocabulary will come, and it will feel real, not rehearsed. Let your voice grow naturally. Building a better vocabulary is a journey, not a performance. You don't need to impress people with how many words you know. You need to move them with how well you use them. So read more, listen more, practice often, and above all, speak with intention, not imitation. Because real articulation isn't about sounding like someone else. It's about becoming the clearest, truest version of you. Read, reflect, repeat the daily practice of articulacy. Articulate people aren't born, they're built. They don't magically wake up knowing how to speak clearly, think sharply, or express ideas powerfully. What they do have, however, is a habit, a rhythm, a commitment to daily growth. That rhythm can be summed up in 3 powerful words: read, reflect, repeat. If you want to become more articulate, if you want your words to carry meaning, weight, and authority, then it's not about memorizing fancy phrases or mimicking others. It's about what you feed your mind every single day, how you process it, and how you let it shape your thinking and expression. That's where the daily practice comes in. Let's break it down. Read, feed your mind. The right fuel. Reading is the foundation of articulacy. Why? Because your ability to speak well depends on the quality of input your mind receives. If your mind is always consuming shallow content and mindless scrolling, short posts, clickbait headlines, then your speech will likely reflect that same level of surface thinking. But when you read rich, thoughtful material, books, articles, essays, speeches, you absorb more than information. You absorb rhythm, structure, vocabulary, tone, and nuance. You begin to see how complex ideas are simplified, how emotions are conveyed, and how language is used to influence. Reading does 3 things for your communication. Expands your vocabulary, deepens your thinking, teaches you how great communicators express themselves, and you don't need to read a book a week. Just 10-15 minutes of focused reading a day, nonfiction, fiction, biographies, or even written opinion columns will start sharpening your mind like a blade. Reflect, turn information into insight, but reading alone isn't enough. If you read and move on, you become a collector, not a communicator. The real transformation happens in the second step, reflection. Reflection is where raw information becomes personal insight. It's where you take what you've read and ask yourself, what does this mean to me? How does this connect with my experiences? Can I explain this to someone else in simple words? Reflection is where your mind starts to organize thoughts, find patterns, and form clarity. It teaches you to think before you speak, which, as we've said before, is the root of all clear communication. One powerful way to reflect is through journaling. After you read something, write down your thoughts, not a summary, your response. What stood out? What challenged you? What inspired you? This habit sharpens your critical thinking and strengthens your voice. Another great method: speaking your reflections aloud to a friend, a mirror, or a voice recorder. Practice articulating your thoughts. If you struggle, that's a sign you need more clarity, and that's okay. Reflection is the workout. The struggle is the growth. Repeat, make it a lifestyle, not a lesson. Here's where most people stop. They read a little, reflect once or twice, and then go back to autopilot. But if you want lasting change, you have to do one more thing: repeat. Articulacy is a skill, and skills are built through repetition. Just like you wouldn't expect to get fit from one workout, you can't expect to become articulate from one article or one reflection. The key is consistency. Make it a daily ritual. Wake up and read something nourishing. Pause and reflect on one powerful idea. Express it in writing or speech in your own words. Do that every day. Not perfectly, not for hours, just consistently. Over time, your mind will become sharper, your words will become clearer, and your confidence will grow. Daily inputs equals lifelong impact. What you do in small, quiet moments shapes who you become in loud, public ones. When you make reading, reflecting, and repeating a habit, you're doing more than building your vocabulary, you're building your voice. You'll find that you no longer fumble for the right words. You'll be able to explain your thoughts smoothly, whether you're in a conversation, a job interview, or giving a speech. You'll carry yourself with quiet confidence, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're speaking from real understanding. Grow your voice, one day at a time. Being articulate isn't about speaking perfectly. It's about speaking with clarity, purpose, and presence. And that kind of communication is built one day at a time by what you read, how deeply you reflect, and how often you repeat the process. So if you want to speak better, think better, and express yourself more powerfully, don't wait for inspiration. Build a rhythm, read, reflect, repeat, because the better you feed your mind, the stronger your voice becomes. Confidence is contagious. Speak like you believe it. You can have the perfect words. You can structure your sentences beautifully. You can practice for hours. But if you don't believe in what you're saying, no one else will either. Because in the world of communication, there's one rule that overrides all others. Confidence is contagious. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. Your tone, your posture, your energy, your presence, they all communicate something before your words even land. And when you speak with confidence, people feel it. They lean in, they listen, they believe you, not just because your words are right, but because your conviction is real. Let's talk about why confidence matters, how to build it, and how to let it show every time you speak. Why confidence transforms communication. Confidence makes your message magnetic. It gives your words weight. Think about the most influential speakers. They don't just speak to people, they speak into people. They leave an impression. Why? Because they're rooted in certainty. Even if they don't know everything, they speak from a place of belief, belief in themselves, belief in their message, belief in their worth. Here's the key. People believe. People who believe in themselves. When you second, guess every word, your listener senses your doubt. But when you own your message, when you speak like you mean it, you give your words power. Not perfection, power. Confidence isn't loud, it's grounded. Many people confuse confidence with being loud, aggressive, or overbearing. But real confidence is calm. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove anything. It simply is. It's a quiet, grounded certainty that says, I know what I'm saying, and I'm okay if you don't agree. Confidence is eye contact. It's standing tall. It's not rushing through your words. It's being comfortable with silence. It's pausing when you need to gather your thoughts instead of panicking. It's knowing that your voice deserves space and not apologizing for taking it. Speak like you believe it, even if you're nervous. Here's the truth. You don't have to feel confident to sound confident. You can feel nervous on the inside and still speak powerfully on the outside. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to show up anyway. Train yourself to project belief even when you feel shaky. How? Practice power posture. Stand or sit up straight, shoulders back. Breathe deeply, control your tone, speak with strength. No rising pitch at the end like a question unless you're actually asking. Use deliberate pauses, they show you're in control. Drop filler words like you know, or I think. Just say what you mean. Every time you do this, you're rewiring your brain. You're telling yourself, I've got this. And over time, it becomes your new default. Know your message, own your voice. Confidence doesn't come from pretending. It comes from preparation and ownership. When you know what you want to say deeply, clearly, you walk into conversations with clarity. You're not scrambling for words. You're not hoping to wing it. You're speaking from something, your experience, your research, your truth. Own your voice. Don't shrink it to make others comfortable. Don't water it down to avoid rejection. Speak your truth, not aggressively, not arrogantly, but authentically. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to believe in your right to speak. And when you do, people listen. Confidence is a skill. Practice it daily. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Just like a muscle, it grows with use. Speak more often, start conversations, share your ideas in meetings, ask questions, record yourself, watch how you speak, improve, repeat. Don't wait for the perfect moment to be confident. Create confidence through action. Every small step you take toward expressing yourself boldly adds up. And the more you speak like you believe it, the more you start believing it. Let the world feel your belief. Your voice is your power. But the world can't feel that power unless you believe in it first. So speak with conviction. Speak with heart. Speak like your words matter because they do. Speak like someone who deserves to be heard because you are. Let your voice be rooted in truth, shaped by preparation, and powered by belief. Because when you speak with confidence, something amazing happens. People don't just hear you, they feel you. And that's how real impact begins.